Hi everyone, my name is Tolets. Welcome to my YouTube channel, which is all about trying to help you practice and improve your English language skills. In today's video, I'm going to talk about text types. First, I'd like you to take a multiple choice quiz, which will help you determine how much you know about this topic. You only have a few seconds to read and answer each item. You can pause this video if you need more time. Answers will be shown so you can check your answers right away. Let's begin. How'd you fare in the quiz? It's okay if you didn't do well. Stick around and you'll know everything about text types. Now I'm going to talk about text types. What do I mean by text in text types? Of course, I don't only mean text message. Text in general is any communication, spoken, written, or visual, involving language. Again, text may be spoken like interviews, dialogues, monologues, and oral stories. Text may be visual. Visual text is shaped and communicated by images or pictures. Examples of visual text are billboards, photographs, advertisements, cartoons, picture books, artworks, and many others. Now that you can physically visit the school libraries, digital text or e-text, which is the electronic version of a written text, becomes even more popular as it can be accessed from anywhere on any device. Multiple textbooks can fit within a single phone or tablet, and that's an amazing thing, right? Now, what is text type? Text type is a way of classifying different texts, both written and spoken, according to purpose and structure. One of the most commonly used classifications of text materials includes three main types. They are narrative, expository, and argumentative texts. A good writer, when writing each of these types, has clear purpose in mind. A writer's purpose is his reason or intent in writing. A writer's purpose may be to amuse, persuade, or inform the readers. When a good writer writes, he also uses certain structures to deliver his message. Text structures are actually organizational structures. Few examples of text structures or organizational structures are chronological order, order of importance, compare and contrast, and cause and effect. Each text type demands the use of particular language features. They require different types of words, phrases, and sentence patterns. As readers, being able to understand the writer's purpose for writing and being able to identify the organizational structures and the language features will not only help you strategize how you read, but will also help you organize how you write compositions. Essentially, the purpose of narrative text is to tell a story using a series of events, but the detailed purpose may vary according to genre. Teachers use narrative text as a tool to allow you to explore new ideas and experiences and to help you organize your ideas. Narrative text, which can be fiction or non-fiction, has several types. Narrative texts can be traditional or folk tales, which include myth, legend, fable, and fairy tale. Myth is told to reveal part of the world view of people or explain a practice, belief, or natural phenomenon. Legend is told to pass on cultural beliefs. Fable, typically with animals as characters, is told to teach the readers a lesson they should learn about life. Fairy tale, which is children's traditional story about magical and imaginary beings and lands, is told to amuse and to convey cultural information that influences behavior, such as where it's safe to travel and where it's dangerous to go. Other types of narrative text are novel and short story. Novel is a relatively long work typically written in prose and published as a book, while short story has a fully developed theme but significantly shorter and less elaborate than a novel. What are the other types of narrative text? They're science fiction, historical fiction, contemporary fiction, realistic fiction, mystery, etc. Now, what is the structure or organizational structure of a narrative text? If you're exposed to a lot of stories, you'll notice that most of them share similar pattern, one with a clear beginning, middle, and end. When previewing narrative text, you should look for these features or story elements to identify it as a narrative text. Their setting, characters, conflict, and plot. There are other story elements, but these four will greatly help you identify a text as narrative. By the way, conflict begins when the protagonist or main character faces obstacles or problems. The main character may face either or both internal and external conflicts. One of the most prevalent theories for a universal plot structure comes from German novelist Gustav Freytag, who proposed this 5-stage architecture for all stories. The first part of plot is the exposition, which introduces the characters and setting. It establishes the point of view. It also gives background information. Take note that it's the exposition that plants the seeds of conflict. Rising action builds the conflict. In other words, it sets the rest of the story in motion. Climax raises conflict to greatest intensity. This is the part where the tension is at its peak. Falling action reduces the conflict, and the last part is the resolution, which is also called denouement, ends the conflict, which may either leave the readers satisfied or unsatisfied. Take note that narrative text uses a story structure that includes these story elements. However, some very good writers are not constrained by predictable narrative structure. They often modify or adapt a generic structure. To be able to do that, of course, they use flashback, time shift, and backtracking. Usually the purpose of flashback is to reveal information essential to the reader's understanding of a character's motive. So, when it's your time to write narrative text, you can also use these less predictable narrative structures to make your stories less predictable. This time, let's identify some of the language features used in this story. For grammatical structures, it used adverbs of time. Notice these time expressions. This story used past tense verbs to indicate the past actions or conditions. It also used adjectives to give vivid descriptions of people, things, and events in the story. It contained dialogues or saying verbs to indicate what the characters are feeling, thinking, or saying. When previewing narrative text, you should look at its vocabulary to be able to identify it as narrative text. Narrative text usually makes use of figures of speech and rhetorical devices. Let's identify one figure of speech in this story. Look at this phrase, chicken liver, which is an idiom. Chicken liver is another way to say the other person is afraid or coward. Let's also identify one rhetorical device used in this story. Look at this. This is an onomatopoeia which refers to words such as hissed, whose sound mimics the noise or action it represents. Expository texts, which are non-fiction texts, are written to provide readers facts and information about the topic. Expository text and informational text are almost the same thing. The difference is that expository text can include opinions, and informational text just sticks to the facts. Most of the time, these words can be used interchangeably. Why do teachers use expository or informational texts in teaching reading? Besides, it supports your language learning. When you read expository or informational texts, you find out things that you can use in your lives outside the classroom. It's often not necessary for you to read the entire expository or informational text. If you identify the critical information in a text that is relevant to the task at hand, you can start doing the task. The common structures or organizational structures used in expository or informational texts are description, procedure or sequence, comparison and contrast, cause and effect, and problem and solution. In description text structure, the author describes a topic by listing a collection of its features or examples. In reading an expository or informational text, you may be asked by your teacher to do a graphic display of the information about the topic. In the middle of this graphic organizer, you'll write the term that is central to this reading text. For example, if this is the reading text, first you will have in the center Galaxy S21 Ultra. And in the smaller circles, you'll write the important features of Galaxy S21 Ultra. In procedure or sequence text structure, the author uses numerical or chronological order to list items or events or explains the steps that you must follow to do something. In reading procedural or sequence text, the teacher may ask you to do this flow chart to show the workflow or process of doing something. In compare and contrast text structure, the author shows how two or more events, topics, or objects are the same and how they're different. In this kind of text, your teacher may ask you to do this Venn diagram to show the common and contrasting features of people, events, ideas, or objects. In a problem solution text structure, the author describes a problem and then gives one or more valid solutions. For example, if you're writing an essay about coronavirus, of course you'll examine the problem carefully. How the virus came into existence? How is it spreading? What problem has it caused for the society? After examining the problem, you'll suggest its possible solutions. In a cause-effect text structure, the writer tries to find the cause of something. Why did something happen and what effects it might have? How is the language used in expository or informational texts? Expository or informational texts contain many complex grammatical structures that can affect your understanding of the texts. Common complex grammatical structures in expository texts are long noun phrases, subordinate clauses, and adverbial clauses. Look at these phrases. The second one, complex noun phrase, is what is often used in expository or informational text. Also, take note that expository texts typically contain several clauses. Expository texts use a technique called end focus, where new and more important information is placed at the end of the sentence. To accomplish that, adverbial clauses often precede the main clauses in the sentence. Argumentative text presents both sides of an argument or issue. The main purpose of an argumentative text is to inform rather than convince. That's why argumentative text should not be confused with a persuasive text. Argumentative text is divided into four parts. First is the introduction, which gives a background information and introduces the central message or thesis statement of the text. Reality shows are a very popular form of entertainment on TV nowadays. The thesis statement controls all the ideas in the rest of the text. The second part is the main argument, which is also called claim. This part talks about the main points of the author's position. In this part, the author backs up his position with supporting evidence. Why many people like reality shows, or why reality shows are a very popular form of entertainment on TV nowadays. The third part is refutation. In this part, the author presents his counter-argument. He introduces the opposite side that he will need to refute as being invalid. The last part is the conclusion. This is a simple conclusion. The most interesting conclusion is one that very briefly presents all the main arguments and provides solutions or studies that need to be conducted in the future. The language used in argumentative text is formal or academic. There are specific words used in argumentative text, such as those that are used to agree or acknowledge someone's opinion, like affirm, assert, confirm, maintain, corroborate, and attest. There are also words that express disagreement, such as argue, deny, contradict, challenge, reject, and rebuff. You'll also see subordinating conjunctions, coordinating conjunctions, transitional and prepositions that express disagreement while acknowledging someone's opinion. These are some of those words that express contrast. In argumentative text, conditional sentences are also commonly used when stating what the author should or should not have done, because he or she can justify his or her position by showing the result of an alternative course of action. Thank you very much for watching and learning with me. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe now so you can help me grow my channel. Bye!